Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. I'm Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
So nobody told me we were doing a voice. I didn't.
I was doing a voice because I had sat back, and when I came up to the microphone and kind of like
We did all this
short-breathed me.
fucking talking beforehand, and nobody said, "Hey guys, we're doing a voice." God, I'm Brady Davis.
I could have put an echo on you, and you'd have had a voice. I'm just saying.
I was just doing the NPR thing, and then Ethan did what Ethan does best.
And then I lost air.
That's okay.
So you're
that's
the
okay.
only
That's
normal
okay.
one
That's
here.
okay. You know, we can just keep going. Just keep going.
Ethan, what have you been up to?
What have I been up?
Fuck.
Okay.
Are you stroking?
No, I'm not
Okay.
stroking this time.
That was a good time for that one.
This time, yes. Keyword.
Yes.
Keyword this time.
So last week,
Are you eating in the halls of Valhalla?
Possibly.
All right. Oh no!
You
That
don't-
means you died in battle.
You don't want to be doing that.
So last week when we talked, I forgot to mention something. Me and Bianca, we took a little trip over to Louisiana.
Oh yeah.
We went to
okay,
Metairie, the big ass shopping mall that they
Metairie.
have. It's really good. We had some good food and did a lot of like window shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And what we went there for was for Bianca to get my anniversary gift.
Okay.
Our anniversary is coming up next month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be putting together. We are going to be putting together the D&D Lego Set.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
It
okay.
is amazing. I'm waiting to get my grubby little hands on it.
Wow, that's cool.
And we're going ahead and exchanging our gifts because hers is coming in the mail and it should be here sometime next week.
All right.
So that's why I forgot to mention last week. But this week I'm playing another game. Okay, and it's a brand new game.
Okay.
I want y'all to make your guess as to what this game is by the description I give.
Okay.
Pong. I'm locked in on Pong.
Okay, you're locked in on Pong.
Yes.
Okay.
Galaga.
Okay,
Galaga.
Galaga.
Okay, but okay, that's too locked in.
Okay,
All
two
right,
locked in.
Tennis.
Okay, tennis.
For the Atari 2600,
Okay,
which is also Pong.
Okay, I'll give
Yeah.
the description and then y'all
I'll
tell
do
you if
I'll
you're
do the
wrong.
sound effects. Blonk, blonk,
Blanc.
blonk.
Okay, so you are a person. You're living.
I
a
am.
person.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm
You-
glad
you-
we're.
I can
You-
see
you-
this.
I'm glad we're on
You
a
are a
voyage of
person, okay.
self-actualization
Oh,
for this.
okay.
You're minding your own business. You're living your own life. Everything is peaceful.
Censored.
See, I ignored what they said, even though it just got cut.
Okay. Yeah, you're living your life. It's peaceful. It's serene. And then you hear a knocking on your door. Okay?
Uh-oh.
Censored.
It's a loan shark. Okay.
Oh, okay.
They're
Okay.
coming to you saying, "Hey, you didn't pay your taxes, so now we're taking away your home." You're confused a little bit, and then they just take it from you.
I'm definitely confused.
Okay.
Okay.
And you go on a journey to reclaim your home.
Okay.
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 Can you? Pong, Galaga,
Galaga,
tennis.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm
you're
sure.
all wrong.
Pepsi Man.
Pepsi Man? No, you're also wrong. Even wronger.
Is it crazy, taxi?
Wrong. Another crab's treasure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
I forgot to mention you're a hermit crab.
Okay. Okay.
You said you're a person.
You lied.
yeah.
You lied.
You did lie.
But the premise is you
threw
because
me
of
off
tax
'cause-
evasion, you lost your shell, and you're trying to get your shell back.
You
you
threw
got
me
turned
off
into a
because
crab.
I'm the one who's supposed to do esoteric, weird indie games, not you.
Well, too
You're
bad.
You're supposed to do Kingdom Hearts, and
Too,
that's it.
too bad.
And Fallout. You've got
And
Fallout now.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts, Fallout, another crab's treasure. But no, this is considered it is a lighthearted, like colorful Souls-like.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Lighthearted Souls-like.
I do not like Souls-likes. I am genuinely enjoying this
Oh, okay.
so much. It came out like 2 days ago. I immediately got it. I've been playing it nonstop. I love it. Because you no longer have a shell, you have to use plastic that you find on the seafloor
Yeah.
Oh, that
as your
sounds
shell.
awesome.
And different shells that you find gives you different abilities.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And how you go about is you only have a fork to defend yourself with.
Okay.
And
As you should.
you poke, you stab, you slash at things, but you're able to stab plastic to turn your fork into a hammer.
Oh, okay.
And
So the environmentalist.
yes,
game.
Yeah.
yes, it is. There's also a
Fern Gully of the Sea.
there's like a sub message about the dangers of pollution in the
Oh
ocean.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you come across any like soda?
Yes, the final
Yes,
part.
yes, you have tin cans, soda cans. You have coffee mugs. My favorite one is a tennis ball as a shell.
Is the final boss the giant island of trash in the Pacific Ocean?
I haven't gotten that far.
The amorphous blob in the ocean.
The first few bosses I fought are probably the funniest designed ones I've ever encountered. The first one is a lobster that has like an executioner's hood on it.
Okay, yeah.
I'm down for that.
That has
Yeah.
a guillotine that's made out of a razor blade and a very like one of those like long locks.
Mm-hmm.
My second favorite is imagine a crab trap,
Okay.
but it is zip tied.
Okay.
And inside of it is nothing but chum and an octopus.
Oh, okay.
And
All
you have
right.
to defeat it by cutting off all the zip ties.
Oh, okay.
And the octopus also has a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
something.
If
Yes.
any sea life would get a gun, it's an octopus.
The one I just defeated before getting here is called the imitation crab,
Okay.
as it is a lobster with with chopsticks.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what else is lighthearted and on sale right now? Corpse Party.
Oh, okay.
Very lighthearted romp through a haunted school with your friends
Yeah.
who
sounds-
become later on eviscerated and splattered on the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
lighthearted.
lighthearted.
Yeah.
Yes, but no, it very fun game. I'm having a blast with it. I'm probably not gonna put it down until I beat it.
Okay. That's good.
Well,
That's good.
those games are normally short too.
Mhm.
Like I imagine you maybe 5 or 6 hours, if that.
Yeah.
Like I beat Carrion yesterday, and
Okay.
it was like 4 hours total.
One more thing. There is a giant moon snail that gives you magical abilities
Okay.
called umami.
Moon snail.
We're approaching Katamari levels at this point, like of just abject insanity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fish-related puns in it.
Katamari
I hope so.
Damacy. Is that all, Ethan?
That is
You-
all.
Oh. Jay, what have you been up to?
The thing that really threw me off on one level of Katamari Damacy was when the king of the universe tells you to make a yummy cancer, and that's just like how do I know we're talking
Cancer,
about
the star
we're-
sign.
yeah, the star signs and all that, but like out of context, it's like
Yeah.
what the fuck.
Yeah,
Bring
that-
me
yeah.
cancer.
That whole level is nothing but like tiny to large crabs that you have to collect.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned last week, I've started playing a classic video game. It's called Mr. Crab Overdoses on Ketamine, and it's such fun. Someone decided, hey, let me take Paramount's IP SpongeBob SquarePants and focus on Mr. Crab after he overdoses on ketamine. At the end, he dies.
Yeah.
And
The chapters
I'm
are
actually not playing that, but I needed another crazy crab
first
game.
chapter. My day
That
with
could be a
DMT.
show, Crazy Crab Games. He could do whatever the fuck he said, and I'll do Mr. Crab overdoses on ketamine.
Chapter 1, my day with DMT.
There you go. Yeah, it's great. But no, in real seriousness, I've been playing Halo, the Master Chief Collection on Steam because I got it for less than $10. So I was like,
Yeah.
this was a good deal. And we're starting with Combat Evolved. That era of Bungie was very good at storytelling.
Yeah.
Hands down. If you look at that, if you look at Myth, which came out about 2 to 3 years, like Myth and Myth 2, I think are like 2 to 3 years before Halo comes out. I think it told a very good story. They even tried attempting to tell a story in the Doom age with Marathon, except everything was on a computer terminal, and you have
Yeah.
to find the terminals.
Right.
And the story is not told linearly. Like the first terminal doesn't have the first story. It has a piece of it somewhere, and you have to tie it all
Oh man,
together.
if they would have made that during the Dark Souls era, people would have ate that shit up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Also, if they hadn't put it on Apple products.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
Although I do believe, I think Marathon 2 and Infinity got Windows releases, but I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah.
But no, storytelling is fantastic. The way they set up set pieces in game, I think it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
My problem with them is, at least in Halo 1, and I was reminded of it, level design was not their forte.
No.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It's literally, it's the same repetitive stuff over and over again. Halo was carried by an excellent soundtrack, very good cutscenes, a good primary loop when you didn't have to do the same thing over and over again, and a multiplayer that once we got Xbox Live, like I think I said last week, proto Xbox Live, when you had LAN parties and you have people
Right.
and that was the first time I think it really broke out on consoles, not counting GoldenEye 007.
Yeah, Halo 2 was like the console killer. Like that was the game that sold original Xboxes.
Yeah.
Like I bought an Xbox to play Halo 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I bought an Xbox to play Ninja Gaiden because the new Ninja Gaiden game would come and say, okay, there was Ninja Gaiden's always been a great.
There was like a
favorite
little
series
bit of
mine.
a backlog when that system came out, when Halo 2 came out to and incentivize you to, like, there's a couple other games you want to play too.
Yeah.
But yeah, popular. I think we can agree on that. Halo 2, I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm trying to do them in. It won't be chronological. Well, it's right now. It's chronological order by time of release. If I wanted to do chronological order, like when you download the system, the first thing it does is give you Halo Reach, and then you have to download the rest of them, and that was annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
But it was okay because I got Combat Evolved on there and I was playing it, so it was good. But my problem with 2 is just how hard that ending hit. Like, I don't mean in a emotional way. I mean, like, I still want to play this, and we just stopped.
Right.
It's like, God damn it. It's like, but I've been enjoying that, and I would like to bring up some board game-ish Kickstarters that are going on or will be going on. Right now, this one is live on Kickstarter. It is the deluxe editions of the Dark Cities games from, God, I can't remember. Facade Games. I just remembered it. But Facade Games makes this wonderful series of games that are set in cities during dark times. So you have Salem 1692, Tortuga 1667. The one I own is Hollywood 1947. There are 2 other games. I think it's Bristol and Deadwood, I think is the other one.
Deadwood.
Yeah. They're coming out with the deluxe versions of them.
Okay.
It's light strategy and deduction for up to 9 people, which you get to that level of stuff and you're able to do that for like that many number of people. Like Resistance, I think, hits it out of the park there. Like as far as basically a light game, something that you can start or end a night with.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. I don't think I'm going to be backing any of them, but I wanted to make sure that this man to my right, Mr. Ethan Skinner, knew about it because y'all have everything except Hollywood, right?
We have everything except for Hollywood in the non-deluxe edition.
Yeah.
And so
It's just under 200 to back for all 5. I think it's 40 a piece. It's 40 a piece for the deluxe games. If you already have the games and you just want the deluxe pieces, you can get them, I think, for 20 on the Kickstarter as well. So it's something to look for. If you like these games and you want to upgrade what you already have, or you've played it over at a friend's house and hey, this would be a cool thing. And also, it's a nice little thing to have on the shelf. It kind of draws the eye. I think it's an absolutely wonderful thing. But that's by Facade Games, again on Kickstarter right now. As the time of this recording, it's got about 21 days to go, so it'll be about around 16-ish days to go when you hear this. The other thing is, in about 12 days, Mayday Games is doing Season 8 of their Crokinole boards. I was not aware of Seasons 1 through 7, so I'm very fascinated by this, but they are offering in mahogany and beechwood. And the boards from the pictures look gorgeous. I think I will probably I'm going to drop some money on this for sentimental reasons too. My grandfather had a Crokinole board given to him by a fisherman from Nova Scotia, and then my aunt's cats destroyed it.
Yeah.
That's the long story short on
Sadness.
that one. Yeah, but that should be launching in about 12 days. Again, that's Mayday Games Crokinole boards. I think I had seen initially it was on BackerKit, but I think they are going to run it through Kickstarter. But if you search out in that space, like I said, as you're approaching, you'll probably see more and more ads for it as it's coming along.
And what's the price point on it?
The MSRP for these things is $180. I've seen literature, and again, until it goes live, I don't want to confirm this, but it could be going. They could be selling them for as low as $99. That $99 that may be an early bird special. I'm not sure. I haven't seen
Right.
everything, but what I've seen so far is that you can pledge $99 and you might be getting a full-on Crokinole board.
And if it is an early bird special and you like Crokinole, I would urge you to try and jump on that, because those boards normally go between $2 and upwards to $1,000 depending on the quality of the board.
Well, Mayday has said that their boards have a manufactured suggested retail price of $180.
Right.
So it's just
That's a
south
quote
of that
unquote
200.
mass produced Crokinole board.
So for a board, one board itself is $99. If you get the board with the carrying case, it's $139. If you get a double board, it's $198.
Mm-hmm.
If you get
That's 2 boards stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
yes,
It's like a double cheeseburger of
Yeah.
Crokinole.
and if you decide to get 2 boards plus a carrying case, it is $278.
Okay.
And no pucks. You got to make those yourself.
Yeah.
Or
You
two.
gotta get to whittling.
Wait, hang on. What's the difference?
You know what
in this?
game like that I've always wanted to play? Well, I haven't always wanted to play, but I've actually seen people play it and it looks really, really fun. Carom.
Okay, the one where they've got a thing and you strike the thing, you strike the puck with the thing and try to make it. Yeah, no, yeah.
That one
It's
looks
like
good.
it's like Crokinole meets pool meets.
That one looks cool, but from what I've heard, those are even more expensive than the
yeah.
Crokinole
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
Oh well, they're gigantic.
Yeah, they're big.
compared to a Crokinole board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was just stuff that caught my eye this week. and
Okay.
So I'm done and out. I'm pulling the chute. I forgot my parachute.
Jay forgot his parachute. Brady, what have you been up to?
All right. So since Shogun ended, I've been trying to find a new show to watch, because now my Tuesday nights are empty and lonely. Without
You have a void in your chest now.
Sweet dulcet tones. And what's his name? The white guy. He deserves better than that. I just can't remember his name right now. So Hulu has is starring on a kind of crime thriller mystery series. It's based on a true story called Under the Bridge. And it stars
Is Lily Gladstone in that?
Lily
Okay.
Gladstone
Okay.
and Riley Keough, who are 2 actresses that I really, really like. If you remember, Lily Gladstone was in Killers of the Flower Moon. She was very excellent in that. Riley Keough has been in a whole bunch of stuff, from big releases to very small A24 type movies. She's a really good actress.
I think you mentioned on the podcast before that you see when you see that name, that's something that draws you.
She's not one that I automatically go to, but if I see her in a movie, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is good. This is good. But yeah, it's based on a true story of this. It takes place it's not Nova Scotia, but it's some Canadian island. It might be Nova Scotia. Shit, I don't know. But Riley
That's our second Nova Scotia reference at this point.
Riley Keough is an author. She's coming back to. She grew up here. Lily Gladstone is a police officer here, and this girl goes missing. And there's kind of this thing where there are these young teenage girls who are just they have problems, and people just don't really give a shit about them. There's a group home for them, and this girl was at the group home, but she actually has a family, so she's back with them, but she's fallen in with them, and she goes missing, and it's them trying to figure things out. The Riley Keough's character is come back, and she's actually writing a book about these girls. And they both used to be friends. Something we find out her Riley Keough's brother's dead, and something happened, and that's basically made her leave the place. It's very interesting so far. It's I don't know. It seems like there's not going to be a lot of mystery with it, but I think that's maybe because it's a true story, or it's based on a true story. It's not a true story, but it's interesting so far. Everybody's doing a good job. I'm liking it so far. These aren't like I probably wouldn't watch this if it wasn't for Lily Gladstone and Riley Keough, to be honest, because this just isn't my type of show. Usually things like this, it has to be like somebody that I'm actually interested in watching. But so far, it's pretty good. So if you do like crime mystery thrillers type things, it's good.
I feel like it'd be something Bianca would like.
The dynamics of the town or city or whatever are interesting. But yeah, I also started a new book. It's called A Letter to the Luminous Deep. It is basically a series of letters. This woman, who we just know as E, contacts this scholar guy about this supposedly new species that she's found. He's like a classification guy, and it seems like the whole world almost does like academics and stuff. I'm trying to figure out if it's like fanciful or anything like that. But the woman lives like in a place like she lives in like a city or something under the sea, and you find out that they have this back and forth with their letters, and they kind of fall in love, but then like something happens, and there's like an earthquake, and the place that she lives in disappears, and they both disappear, and it's like a year later, her sister and his brother are like writing letters to each other, trying to find out what happened, and they're like piecing together their relationship through things, and it's also like letters the woman to her sister and things like that, and it's like all interspersed, and you're like things are unfolding through, but it's all letters. Like it's just this person's writing to this person. This is what they say. So far, it's very interesting. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out if it's like how fanciful it's going to get. But it is like telling you some things about the world without like just straight exposition. So far, it's a pretty interesting book. I like that. I also started playing Marvel Champions again, which is the cooperative living card game with the Marvel through Fantasy Flight, because I recently got the not the last but the next to last campaign box, which is called the Next Evolution. This is the X-Force box. This has Cable and Domino in it. So I played through that. I just beat that recently. It's pretty good. Cable is very fun. I played through as him. This is a game that you can play through as solo pretty easily. Although sometimes a hero that you're playing as or a villain that you're fighting is not perfectly balanced for one-on-one. I think a lot of people build if they're playing solo, they play like two-handed where they have two decks. I don't feel like doing all that shit. Because everything is balanced by like, it's usually like, okay, its health is like 17 times however many players there are. And, if I'm playing solo, I just have to remember, okay, I just have to do 17 damage to this guy. You fight the Marauders, you fight Juggernaut, you fight Mr. Sinister, and then you fight Strife. Strife was the hardest one. He took me the most time. Everybody I beat like the first time. Juggernaut took me a couple of times because he can do a lot of damage, and he can also attack you when you're in alter ego mode, which is not something that can normally happen. Strife is like really tough, but it's a very interesting. It was a very interesting module. I'm almost caught up with it. With the game, I got a little behind with it. I've been keeping up with it. The next campaign box is the Age of Apocalypse, and that's really, really interesting. I definitely am going to get that pretty soon. It comes with Bishop and Magic. For those who don't know, Magic is Colossus's sister. Both of them look like they play pretty interestingly. So I've been playing that. And then the other thing that I've been doing is culminated today. I was preparing for we have started most of us at this table, not Ethan, and it's not because I told him he couldn't. It's because they decided to not, and I don't. And it's okay. we started a campaign, a short adventure. It's not really a campaign because it's not like super long. With the Iron Kingdoms RPG, which is basically it uses the 5e D&D rules, but it like puts a layer of the Iron Kingdoms, and the Iron Kingdoms is from the game, from the miniatures game War Machine. So it's in that world, and it like changes a few things, and it'll say like, okay, like healing magic is different in this world, or these spells just don't exist. Like, you know, if you play long enough in this world and you get the chance to get wish doesn't exist in this thing. Most like planar jumping, like you can't jump between planes and stuff like that, don't exist. But it's a world that's like it's kind of a steampunk world, a little bit kind of modern, but also, you know, kind of old. It all depends on like what area you're in. And we were playing the Legend of the Witchfire. For those who aren't familiar with War Machine and the lore, the Witchfire is like an ancient artifact. It's a sword that takes the soul of anybody that it kills and can resurrect people into zombies and control them. So that's a pretty powerful thing. They've mostly spent Jody and Jay are playing, and they've mostly spent this first time dealing with a rat infestation.
There were several mini rats.
Yeah.
Sometimes clumped into a giant ball of rats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was
Swarm.
there was a swarm of rats.
mounds.
Yeah.
I'm playing-
Usually when you're at level 1 and you hear the word swarm, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Depends on the swarm.
It wasn't a good thing.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
No,
And-
they you know crawled up Jody's legs a lot.
Yeah,
They did. I missed a lot
That's
too.
not good.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at half my starting life.
I was
total.
able to. As a mechanic, I was able to strap bottle rockets to Jody's knife, and when he missed, he was able to add a D4, and he hit, and it was violence. It was great.
Good stuff.
Jay
Violence
is
ensues.
a gobber tinkerer.
Yes.
And Jody is are you human?
I'm Crixian.
Crixian, yeah.
Yeah.
So that human.
Human.
But he's got a little bit of like there's necromantic energies that come from Crix because they're all the undead people who rule over there. But yeah,
I'm a duelist.
yeah, he's a duelist.
What do you think that means, Ethan?
Double gun.
Nope.
Damn.
Knife gun.
Yeah,
Knife gun.
you can hit somebody with a gun with your
Cutlass.
cutlass, and then also shoot them in the face.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Sneak attack, motherfucker.
You get it's called dual attack. So they add a lot of stuff from the game in there. Like a lot of the spells are like D&Dized versions of the spells that you see in the game. So that's pretty interesting. Michael is a gun mage, which is people who shoot guns, but they do magic stuff with the guns.
Guns, but confetti pops
Yeah.
out.
Like confetti, it
gun
means
confetti.
eldritch fucking bullets.
Yeah.
Gun confetti. I like that.
Jason Holder is a Tharn barbarian, and the Tharn are like near feral people who when they kill their enemies, they eat their hearts.
Okay.
So yeah.
Does he just hit people with guns instead of? Does he not know how to shoot guns or?
No, he just hits people with an axe.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
It would have been funnier if he just has a gun that he doesn't know how to use properly, and that's why he's a barbarian.
Yeah. That's a big thing is that guns are part of the Iron Kingdoms, whereas you don't see very many bow and arrows, but those do exist. Yeah. So far it's an interesting. I think it's we're all having fun. Hopefully
yeah.
everybody else feels that way. I think it is. It's a pretty decent story. With that, I'm liking it. I've just kind of gotten obsessed with like getting back into and feeling out the lore of War Machine since I've been away for so long, because the game kind of died there for a little bit, and then they brought it back, and I don't like any of the newer. Well, I don't like any of the newer models or anything, and those are
Right.
really what you got to have to play fully the game. Because the old stuff just doesn't work as well anymore. It's not really made for it, which is annoying. But but I have I've always been interested in as I played War Machine. I've been interested in the lore of the game because I do like the lore and I like the characters. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Have you been, Jody?
I've been pretty good, actually. I don't know if the listeners remember this, but quite a few episodes back, I said I was working on a secret project to talk about.
I believe you're up to 4 secret
There's
projects.
2, and we're about to reveal.
So
one.
we've pared down, and now we're about to reveal.
No, there's only 2. Anything else was
maybe it just felt like
it was
4.
it was a joke, I think, maybe, or a bit. So throughout my illustrious life of, well, that sounded really pretentious.
Yeah, that is incredibly pretentious.
Let me tone that down. Throughout my entire nerd life, there we go. There's certain things that that I would go to as when I was younger, because when you're a young boy, there's certain stupid things that you like because it's bigger, badder, kind of bigger than larger than life kind of stuff, And then when you get older, sometimes you look at it and go, that's just a bunch of stuff happening. There's really no heart and no story in it. So I was watching some video about something to do with this property that wasn't exactly, the actual media, but something that was adjacent.
I like how he's
to
kept us waiting for so long and he still won't fucking tell us.
Avoiding it. He's waiting for his grand reveal.
Yeah. I'm milking this shit, right?
Yeah.
I swear to God.
You're just setting us up for fucking disappointment
If
because
you
there's
give us
no
an-
way it lives up to it.
If you give us an actual countdown clock, and at the end it has to do with Jack Perry, I'm going to lose my mind.
The clock actually starts at year 0079, Universal Calendar.
Oh, okay.
I watched the entire main arc of the Gundam series.
Jesus. That's a lot.
Which is Gundam Origin, Mobile Suit Gundam,
Yeah.
Mobile Suit Gundam Zeta,
Yeah.
and Char's Counterattack.
Yeah.
Which follows the main characters Char Ansible, which I'm mispronouncing that.
Anzable.
Yeah. And Amaru, whatever his last name is.
Rayo?
Maybe.
I think it's Amuro Rayo.
Maybe.
Or maybe I'm
Ray?
shit. I continue. I'm
Yeah,
looking-
Amuro Ray? I think that's how
yeah,
I've always-
Amuro Ray. That's it.
Yeah.
And so
Of that, I've watched Char's Counterattack because that's a good movie.
it is a good movie. I started with when I was trying to figure out what happened was I was watching because of you motherfuckers, right?
What the fuck did I do?
Amuro Ray, yes.
I was watching different videos about different miniature stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so one video popped up of some dude putting together a gunpla.
Oh, okay.
Which
yeah.
is like a Gundam model.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I used to do
those are
that a
kind
lot.
of cool. And while he was doing that, he was talking about the show. And I'm like, this seems like it's more interesting than I would think a show about giant robots beating each other up would be about. And so...
Yeah, the Gundam, most...
Were you humbled?
Pretty
when
much
you were
everything
watching
but
this?
G Gundam has a lot of thought put into it, and even G Gundam kind of has a lot of thought put into it.
I've heard some of the so I haven't watched a lot of anything else actually.
Yeah.
Unicorn is a newer one. Wing, I haven't watched any of Wing. I've
Yeah.
heard mixed things about some of those shows.
Yeah,
Well,
some of them are good, some of them are not good.
right. But I started with Origin. I don't know if you've seen that or not. So Origin is it's only like 15 episodes or something like maybe 20. It's just one season of a show. And because he doesn't have a backstory originally in Mobile Suit Gundam, it's Char's backstory.
Oh, okay.
So you get like the first episode, him and his sister is what's her name? I can't remember her name right now, but she's tied into
Yeah.
the whole series as well because she works on the other side.
Yeah.
But they are like part of a royal family, and the I believe in the Space Noids region, like in the I don't think I can't remember if they're on Earth or they're actually in the a Xeon area of the because there's like 7 different 6 or 7 different like floating space station type of places, like habitats that
I want to say they were in space.
And so they in the first episode or the second episode they assassinate his father, and that starts like him going on
that'll do it.
His whole thing. And there are characters in Mobile Suit Gundam that die in the first like 10 episodes that you don't really have a whole lot of like thought put into it because you don't really know them very well. But in Origin, they're established characters. In Origin, they made in 2015. So it's like retroactively, they made this backstory for characters who didn't have a lot of backstory. They put backstory there, including Char. So when I got to Mobile Suit Gundam, I knew these characters. I'm like, oh man, I remember seeing that guy from the other show. Oh fuck, he just blew up. He's dead now. And so like
Gundam is not afraid to kill people.
And so Gundam, the stuff I watched, I was like, this shit is like Game of Thrones levels of like killing main characters. They just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And then in the first part of one thing that I was glad I watched Origin first, because in the first part of Mobile Suit Gundam proper, Amaru is like a very generic, and understandably so, because it's like 1979 or 80 or whatever. He's a very generic protagonist. Like I don't care about this. I don't care about this guy at all.
He's the special boy.
And then, like when the second part of the arc of that first series hits, it starts becoming more interesting when more things happen. Yeah. In fact, and this isn't really a spoiler. Well, it is if you haven't watched either Mobile Suit Gundam or Origin. There's something that happens in the opening of Mobile Suit Gundam that is a plot point that happens in Origin in the opening. It's fucking wild. Jay, you look like you're going to die.
Where's Lady Cassilia? She's on the deck, sir. It's like, Garma, I'm sending your sister to join you. Consider this my going away present. And then the greatest headshot of all time.
Yeah, right. Like, I knew that fucker was going to die. I knew that was
Everybody from the Zabi family died. All of them. And all of them were killed violently.
Yeah, the Zabi family is involved in, well, Char pretty much figures out in a later show that they were probably responsible for his father's assassination. Because, well, his father was friends with it. Well, they were in the same, circles or whatever. And then boom, boom, boom. But anyway, I've enjoyed it. I might go into the other shows, but all those characters, from what I've seen in that pretty much cohesive storyline, very intriguing, very interesting, a lot of good payoffs. And in Zeta, I guess they figured out, like, if we're going to, like, continue the storyline, we need another main protagonist because Amaru sucks. So I can't remember.
They do that a couple of times in that main Gundam era.
And they had some really interesting things with basically, like, people from opposite sides not really knowing they're from opposite sides and, like, starting to have, like, hinting at romantic, like, at least, like, inclination, maybe not relationships or whatever. And it's like, no, I can't talk to you right now. I've got to go fight in the battle. And, and then, one of them probably dies.
Yeah.
But, but there's another aspect of the show I want to mention, especially for Ethan, if he ever wants to watch it. One thing that it took me a minute to wrap my head around it is the whole mystique of the new type thing.
Yeah.
So in Gundam, what happens is, I think it's hinted at in the original series that the war, or at least the energy from, like, this ridiculous amount of fighting that's going on, has caused certain younger people to have abilities that trigger within them, like superhero but not superhero powers. And basically what it does is it heightens their senses. Because Amaru falls into a Gundam and is able to sort of pilot it right away, because certain characters have just instinct to be able to do that, and they're able to be really badass in the robots because they have this their quote unquote new types, which are like next generation evolution of humanity kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that adds a whole different aspect of it, and they go deep into that shit later, as well.
Yeah, Gundam Seed, which is not in the, it's a more recent Gundam that's not in that same universe. Uses, I believe they're called new types in that one too. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I've only watched like the first series of that. There's like 2 or 3.
Right. There's a lot of stuff.
But because they'll have different universes, and then those will spawn like 3 or 4 series as well,
and different timelines as well.
Yeah, timelines.
Yeah.
That's what this one is.
Yeah.
But they use that, and they explain that kind of from the jump, because I think everyone who's in space are new types, and then they attack Earth, which doesn't have very many new types, and the guy who ends up defending them is a new type. I think they call him that. It's been a while. Gundam nerds, correct me if I'm wrong. Jay will read the email or whatever. But it's been a very long time. I liked the series, but it's been a very long time since I've watched it. But they do a similar thing, and they explain it fairly well, a little bit better. But I think also probably they were just coming up with this shit as they were going along. So
one thing I really liked, especially in Zeta, and they did a little bit in the original show, but in Zeta I really liked that they'll have like these big ass fucking robot battles going on. Meanwhile, on the ships, on the separate ships and stuff, all this political shit is going down. People are getting like assassinated, or like there's somebody getting kidnapped, or people are trying to break out of prison. Like it's not just fucking space battles the whole time. And that's why I stayed away from this, because I'd watched Super Dimensional Macross way back in the day, and I watched the Macross movie, and I was like, and I've seen like different like extreme, robot stuff like Genocyber and Guyver, which is not really a mecha, but it might as well be. And so I got burnt out on it because a lot of it didn't really have like heart or really great story. It would be kind of cool or whatever.
A lot of it was like Monster of the Week type stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very, very generic. Like if you go back further than Gundam and you go to like Giant Robo and Gigantor and stuff like that, it's like, So I watched that over the course of the past couple of months.
Yeah.
And
there's been 2, like when it comes to like mecha anime, there's basically been 2 that have like, when they've come out, they've changed things, and it was Gundam, and then it was Neon Genesis Evangelion. Those 2, like when it came to like giant robots, those 2 like changed things drastically, and Echoes. Most things are either trying to do something that one or the other one did.
Right.
Even with Gundam, even more of the Gundams, they kind of do a similar thing. Let's do political, but with giant robots.
And so if I've just revealed to you that I was like over giant robots for a long time and over that style of anime, that should tell you that I also have not seen Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah.
And that's another one that I'm going to have to watch at some point in the near future.
Well, that's that you're just probably going to be sad at the end of it. Like that's what that
There's
one
like
does.
14 movies after the show, right?
So there's the show. Then there is Death and Rebirth and the End of Evangelion. And I think they've changed some things around to where I think it's called Death Squared and End of Evangelion. But I want to say now just the Death Squared is basically a compilation. And then there is the Rebirth quadrilogy, which is 4. That is kind of a reimagining of it, and so it's a lot, but it's the 26
Neon Genesis
episodes.
is Anno, right?
Yeah, Hideki Anno, who also did Gunbuster, which is one of the earlier mecha anime. It was like an OVA type thing.
Oh, okay. I don't think like I saw like a lot of them in the 90s that came out in the 90s.
This
early
was
80s.
like, this was like the first thing I think he worked on, or at least he was in charge of. It was very, very short. It was in the 80s or maybe maybe even late 70s. I can't remember.
I don't think they did OVAs in the 70s. I think OVAs started when video.
Yeah, maybe
cassette.
not. Maybe I think it might have been early.
Yeah,
80s.
OVAs are basically direct to video.
Yeah.
Original video
So
animation.
more like a smaller limited series, maybe.
They're usually OVAs are normally like.
No, like it would is Gunbuster like just
my
a
bad.
smaller limited series rather than an OVA.
It was definitely like an OVA.
Okay.
But yeah, I watched Dominion Tank Police.
1988. I'm sorry, it was late 80s.
Yeah,
So,
that's when OVAs were like the jam.
Yeah.
But I've seen Dominion Tank Police and Pat Labor and stuff like that, and I was just, the thing is being able to watch full series. People are like, you had the option of no, I haven't. I haven't because of time, but because of interest and things like that. It's not really until streaming started becoming more prolific. Or I should say available, to use my terminology properly, that I was able to do that. Because back in the day, if I wanted to watch the entirety of Gundam, it would have costed me $200.
Yeah.
Just the first show.
Yeah.
And that was if it was available to buy.
Yeah, if you could find it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. A good way to break it down is a Gundam is political, whereas Evangelion is philosophical and psychological. And it gets super, super weird towards the end. In fact, like the last two episodes are pretty avant-garde.
One thing I liked about Gundam, and especially after the first series, and of course it builds up or whatever, and it's also like archaic storytelling that grows over time as well. The characters have motivations that are understandable, and they're straightforward, and you know why the characters are motivated and the reason why. So I just ended on that. So Jay, where can they reach us?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the bus this week. If you would like to leave feedback, travelersontheomnibus@gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus @gmail.com. Jody, where else can they get in touch with us?
You can reach us directly through our Spotify by taking place in any polls or messaging us directly. Any polls going on right now, Jay?
Yes, we have polls for the last episode. A kind of a combo of because the last two were kind of bookend episodes. We talked about mythology and board games, and then sorry, other way around, mythology and video games, and then mythology and board games. Kind of like what mythology is your favorite when it shows up in games? So that is on the last episode that we did. In addition, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again once again for joining us. And if you've enjoyed your time here and would like to share that time with other people who might like to listen to this, but they don't listen on the same channels that you listen podcasts on, we are available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music, and Amazon.
Do we have any feedback?
No feedback this week, though. I had to check because I made the statement that Lady Cassilia's headshot was the greatest of all time. And for some reason, I started to think about Nino Brown from New Jack City, which is like one of my favorite end kills of any movie. And I couldn't remember if that was a headshot or not. So while y'all were talking about anime, I was in silence watching Wesley Snipes get shot in New Jack City. He got shot in the chest with one of the coldest lines I think you could kill somebody with. Your soul is required in hell. Bam! Done.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
New Jack City is so underrated.
Oh, yeah.
It is such a good movie.
New Jack City.
Yeah, it's good.
Menace to Society.
Menace Society, yeah.
Boys in the Hood. That's like the trilogy, really.
Ricky! Like,
Yeah.
God bless Morris Chestnut. I know he didn't die there, but I feel like it every time I watch that movie.
That was, dude, like that movie hit hard, and I'm not, I'm not even close to anything in that, what the lifestyle was being portrayed there. But I was like, that movie woke a lot of people up. I think, like, it was just like, holy shit, is this?
Which one was John Singleton's movie? Was that Menace?
I think that's Menace to Society,
Because
but
I think he followed that up with Higher Learning too. Which
that sounds about right.
That's another like really
that's another really good
movie.
one. Yeah, Higher Learning's really good.
There you go. There. Well, now that we've talked about a bunch of other movies, let's talk about what we're doing about a very special movie franchise this month. Oh, wait a minute.
Before we get Alan Hughes and Albert Hughes directed Menace to
Society. Which one was John Singleton? I feel terrible about
Is
this.
that Boys in the Hood?
Was it Boys?
I think that's Boys in the Hood.
I know he did Higher Learning.
I think that's Boys in the Hood.
Yes. Boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep. He's really good in Hoodlum. I don't.
He's
think you ever-
really good.
Just in general, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, if you've ever seen Hoodlum, that's another really good one because it's him and Tim Roth, and God, I can't remember because he plays Bumpy Johnson in that era and stuff. And we're drifting further away from the main topic at this
And we
point.
should drift closer to a galaxy that's not so far away. You know, there's this movie. It came out like a long time ago. A long time ago.
Okay.
In this galaxy.
Oh, okay.
Not so far.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's all you can do. We don't want to get sued.
I was 5 when Star Wars came out.
Ooh, I was 3 years. I was born 3 years after the third one came out. So
I was one of the last people to be born before the world knew The Empire Strikes Back. I was born in '79. Empire was in 1980.
My father was born in 1977.
Jesus Christ.
I'm 5 years older than
Hang on.
Ethan's father.
I've discovered the power of the breeding pen.
That's just me being spiteful. My apologies.
So, my actual first introduction to Star Wars was when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
There is a Star Wars companion book that came out a year after the movie. That was basically by Scholastic. It was mostly pictures and maybe some story arcs or something like that. I don't remember reading much of it. I was 5.
Yeah.
I do, however, remember there was a costume contest for school for some reason. And even though I had no idea what Star Wars was at that age, because my parents were Pentecostal, and at that time, I don't think we had a television in the house.
Okay.
I went to the costume contest as R2-D2. R2-D2, however, for my costume in 1978 or 79, was a cardboard box with pictures from that book posted on the outside of it.
I was more concerned that like you just had the words R2-D2 written on the side.
My actual first Star Wars experience was the holiday episode.
The holiday special.
The holiday
That's
special.
a good introduction.
That's the best introduction.
I would argue if you're a child, that is actually a good angle to come in
It
on.
wasn't terrible, but and I don't want to go too deep into it before I hand it over, but I will say that I was over my cousin's house a year after Empire came out, and in the early days of cable, before the video market boom started in the early 80s, cable television got programming a lot earlier. Not than it does now, but there was a time period where it would normally take a while. But during that time period, there was a channel that was like HBO and Cinemax. It was called the Movie Channel. And they actually had Empire Strikes Back on the Movie Channel like 6 months to a year after the movie came out. It was pretty early. And I saw Empire first before I saw any other Star Wars movies. In fact, I think I saw Empire, and then soon after, I saw Return of the Jedi, and then eventually years later, I saw A New Hope.
Yeah.
Jay, you had a similar experience, right?
I did. In case anyone's wondering what the hell's going on, we are recording this on May the 1st, as of course May the 4th is slowly coming up. And of course, May the 4th is Star Wars Day. It has been decided by many and several people. And so we decided, you know what? We're going to do it the whole month. Why stop at one day? So this month, the Travelers on the Omnibus are going full on Star Wars. Every episode from this month is recorded is going to be about Star Wars and our opinions on Star Wars stuff. Basically, us reviewing stuff and that. And then this first one is our personal where we got started, Start Wars, if you will. So
we have the Force with us all month, not just one day.
all of it. We got it all the time, and it's gonna be great. Mine was 1983. Never saw Return of the Jedi, even though it came out in that year. However, My parents bought me a Return of the Jedi activity book, which had stuff. I think it was the green one that was like things to do and make. No, it definitely was the green one because I remember that green color. And it was like some of it was just like activities and mazes. Some of the things you actually cut out of that, pasted and put it together. And it was the thing that I remember. I get looking back on it now, is that's how I was introduced to the vision of Star Wars, the look of Star Wars, and things like that. And without knowing about the first two movies, I loved Ewoks. I was also a 3-year-old child, so yeah, like that's something.
Teddy bears.
I do believe that there is some credence to the fact that they were Ewoks and not Wookiees, because it brings children into the media, and I think it was a great launching point. And I think to this day, it's one of the parts of the reasons why Jedi is my favorite of all of the movies. But yeah, that activity book was just an introduction to this is what this stuff looks like, this is what this stuff feels like, this is how we're presenting it to people. Later years, like I want to say starting around like 88 or 89, I can't remember if it was NBC or it was CBS. I can't remember which one, but they would every so often on a Saturday night they would air The Empire Strikes Back, and on Sunday night they would air Return of the Jedi. And that was my first experiences with the movie, was on a TV screen in my house. I never got to watch Star Wars, the actual original Star Wars, until around 1992 or maybe 93, when I got the VHS box set of all three of them. And the first thing I did after getting that out from under the tree was placing Star Wars in there so I could finish the journey with the one that began.
Right.
So yeah, it was a weird getting started with Star Wars.
Same for me. Ethan?
So I'll go with what Jay said about the vision of Star Wars, because growing up, I didn't know what Star Wars was growing up. Okay, however, my older brother Skylar, he had a Darth Vader kind of like costume that he would wear every year for Halloween, and it had like the Vader mask with the chest controls that allowed him to alter his voice, like put it on and made the noise like and all that. And so I'm like, Star Wars, gotcha. And it wasn't until like shortly after my father showed me the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And I sit down, I'm watching it, I'm thinking, this is a little boring.
Well, yeah.
Because like they're talking about like politics and like, oh no, the trade route. So no, what are we
All
gonna
kids
do?
wanted to know about trade negotiations.
Yep.
Don't forget taxes and embargoes.
Yep. This is
It's like poetry.
this
It
isn't
rhymes.
this isn't
They
living up
blockaded
to
the planet.
w-
Not how
Like-
you need 8 billion ships to blockade a planet.
I'm making a movie for the kids this time.
yeah, at the beginning, this dude like used a laser blade to open the door. That's cool.
Yeah,
I want to
that is-
see.
that is
I want to see
objectively
more
cool.
of that.
Yes.
I don't want to see politics and people sitting in weird looking people sitting in like half chairs in a circle and talking
Yeah.
to each other. And it wasn't until they got to it's Obi-Wan and
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
who I initially called Qui-Quan John. I couldn't remember the name, and for like about a month, I kept telling people the guy's name was Qui-Quan John.
They're running through the palace opening, and in front of them lands a hooded figure that's been kind of like stalking them the entire time.
Yeah.
And the reveal of Darth Maul. They get their lightsabers out. They're ready. Darth Maul pours his out, and then
Duel of the Fates kicks in.
a second a two-sided lightsaber. I'm like, holy shit, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
And
what everybody thought in the theater
Yeah.
too.
And proceeds one of the greatest fights in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Of all
This
time.
is true, yeah.
It's a
It
really
is
good fight.
Absolutely amazing. This is what I wanted from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then you have to constantly cut to a child flying in a ship.
Now this is pod racing.
Oh man.
Nah, no. Kid me was like, this is what I want to see
Yeah.
all the time. If I had
Exactly.
this over an hour long, would it be boring? Yes. Would I be excited? Absolutely.
Yeah. Imagine like being a kid a little bit older than you, being obsessed with Star Wars and looking forward to this, and finally getting that moment because you've seen stuff with the Jedi, but you haven't. But again, you know what the Jedi are. You just haven't ever seen the Jedi like this. Like that was like legitimately. I don't think the Phantom Menace is a good movie. We've talked about this before. See a previous episode.
Yes. See bus fight.
But Duel of the Fates, like that whole fight, and then the music along with it, like that's John Williams, one of his best things he's ever done, and that's a high bar for John Williams.
Star Wars 4, 5, and 6, Indiana Jones, I think all 1, 2, and 3, Superman.
He's done all of the
Superman theme that everyone still remembers.
He's done Jaws.
The choreography of all of it, like Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor.
Ray Park.
Ray Park. I just saw the name.
It was so good it got a stuntman a job in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. It's like,
and they kept it to where he only got to say like 2 lines a movie.
That's true.
The next major Ray Park movie was X-Men, and they had to give him his Darth Maul pose.
Yeah.
They had to, or else it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
What about you, Brady? What had started you on the journey?
Like I said, I was born 3 years after the third Star Wars Return of the Jedi came out. My brother was he's about 10 years and some change older than me. I know he watched Star Wars because there were Star Wars figures like around. There's some of them are still, I still have. So I know that like he watched it. The first thing that I remember, the earliest thing, I'm pretty certain that I probably seen the other ones, but the first movie that I remember watching and caring about was Return of the Jedi. I didn't fully understand anything that was fucking happening in the movie. But it had like Ewoks and it had like light swords. So this was really cool. It was probably around the 90s the early 90s because I just don't like those first 4 years. Like I don't fucking remember anything from that shit.
No,
but it had to be around that era when I started watching it. And I just remember like always like going to the video store and renting Return of the Jedi. I couldn't understand it because I didn't know anything about any of the other 2 movies.
Right. Because that movie starts with like Luke and Leia like getting Han out of
Jabba the Hutt's place, and I didn't understand like anything about the dynamics of Darth Vader. But then it was like, oh, this dude's dead. Okay, cool. I think I can get that. But I just loved it because it had shit like Ewoks, and another one that I would also rent more not episode 4 and episode 5. I would rent the second Ewok Adventures. I didn't know that there was another one, but to me that was the only one. But it was the second one with Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, there's like 2. There's like Battle for Endor, and then I can't remember what the other one was called.
I think it was the first one was called Ewok Adventures, and then the second one was Battle for Endor. And Battle for Endor was the one that I remember watching.
And those are 2 live action Star Wars movies.
Yeah, it's got Wilford Brimley. It stars Wicket, the Ewok, and the little girl. I loved it because it was Ewoks. Ewoks, I love them shits.
1984, Caravan of Courage, an Ewok Adventure, and then followed in 85 by Ewoks, The Battle for Endor.
Yeah, The Battle for Endor.
Yeah, because the cartoon was also called Ewok Adventures, right?
Because there was this weird like sorceress chick who could turn into a crow who made me feel weird. But yeah, and it wasn't until when they did the re-release into theaters where they kind of updated it and cleaned up some things and then added some new scenes that really I got super I always liked Star Wars, but like that's when I got really super into it because I remember going to the theater and seeing episode 4 in theaters. And I didn't get a chance to watch the other 2 in theaters for some reason, but that was back in the day where like I got to go to the theaters like once every blue moon.
Yeah.
But I remember like and this was my family in Brookhaven. We went to that. There's a 4-screen theater that's still there, and that's where I watched it. I watched it alone because none of the adults felt like watching that shit. But that's when I kind of like got super obsessed with it.
Right.
And I remember being like super excited about Phantom Menace and just like trying to digest every single piece of information that I could. I had books that I was reading. I was all kinds of stuff, and so yeah, really. So that's like where my like love of Star Wars like really took off.
I like how all of us started not with the first movie.
Yeah, because
What are you talking about? I started with episode 1.
because none of us were like there for that point in time. Really,
I was technically too young. Even if my parents did go to the movie theater, which never happened. In fact, the first movie I saw in a theater was The Wizard with Fred Savage.
Wow.
I was like 16
California.
or 17 or something. Yeah. But yeah, none of us started with the first movie. Like I was 5 when Star Wars came out. And so that means I was like around 8-ish when Empire came out. And I remember distinctively being over at my grandmother's house in the mid 80s and seeing Return of the Jedi on HBO all the time. And I watched it every time it came on. So that's where we started. What continued your love for Star Wars, Ethan?
So after that, and watching in Phantom Menace, I'm like, I want to see more of these fights. We then went on to Attack of the Clones.
Yes, we did.
Which,
Yeah.
it didn't catch that like ray of sunshine that Phantom Menace gave.
The
me.
fights in that one, there's not much in there, and they're not great.
There's the one where they're at the arena and it's nothing but like just blurs of
It's
lightsabers
Jedis
everywhere.
and
Well, like,
drones attacking.
I will
each other.
argue, like the part where they're like being, it's Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan are supposed to be executed
Right.
by animal,
By giant
by
monster.
Giant, they each get a giant monster that they have to fight. That's not a terrible sequence, but when the lightsabers come out, it's all a blur. Because for some reason, they decided that except for Samuel L. Jackson, everybody either had to have a green or a blue lightsaber. Nobody could have any other thing.
But Samuel Jackson being Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson was like, "Fuck you! I'm getting the color that I want."
And he said, "You know what? I'm also gonna kill Jango Fett."
Yeah.
So there we go.
I think it was literally because he wanted to be like he wanted you to be able to see. Okay, that's where Mace Windu is.
I think that's where his reasoning came from.
Which makes sense because again, it's all a fucking blur.
Right.
There's an interview that he had like, "Hey, where did the purple lightsaber come from?" And he, I think he said like he had to sit down with George Lucas and say like, "Okay, so the spiel of Star Wars Jedi Masters, they're blue and green." It's like, is that it? There's no purple. He's like, no, George's like, no, there's not. Damn. Next day he's on set like, hey, got this for you. It's purple.
Yeah. Do you know why there was the green lightsaber in Return of the Jedi?
I do not.
So the start of Jedi starts on Tatooine, which is a desert planet. So there's no clouds. It's just blue sky. And they couldn't get the blue lightsaber to look right against the blue sky when they were doing that. So they changed it to green so you could tell the difference, so it could stand out against the blue sky when they did all the stuff. That's why there's a green lightsaber.
Is Luke's saber green throughout Return of the Jedi?
Yes.
The whole way through.
The whole way
Return
through.
of the Jedi, yes.
Huh.
And then they just kind of came up with, well, okay, he built his own lightsaber. And that's where they come up with building your own lightsaber.
Right.
All that shit. And then it's kind of like how, you know, all the Jedi in the prequel trilogy are dressed like Obi-Wan was, but that wasn't canon until then because that's just how fucking Obi-Wan dressed.
They retroactively.
And then they retroactively
because he was in a desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just, because he was in a fucking desert, and that's what you do in a desert. You wear layers like that. And then they retroactive. Well, no, that's Jedi shit. So, like,
These are traditional Jedi robes. Here you go.
So they did a lot of this.
Which, if you're gonna hide on a planet, you really want to be looking the same way in the same clothes you were wearing 20 years ago.
Yeah, if you're hiding on the planet that your mortal enemy grew up on.
Also, don't change the kid's last name.
Yeah, don't change the kid's
Yeah, keep it the same.
Bail Organa had that shit on lockdown.
Yeah.
Right.
He didn't realize he had a daughter. until like, oh, thoughts go to your sister. He isn't even putting Vader's not putting two and two together.
Right.
Like it's like, wait, I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
Sister.
Jimmy Smits was underrated in the prequel trilogy as Bail Organa.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah. There's good stuff in that.
There
in
is.
that. It's just overall, it's just very.
I think
meh.
Attack of the Clones was like George liked giving the fans middle fingers. I'm gonna give you 2 examples. One is Attack of the Clones. Well, they wanted more lightsaber battles. They always want more lightsaber battles, so I just gave them more lightsaber
Because
battles.
they're cool.
Yeah.
And the big one for me is always like, well, you wanted to know the backstory of Boba Fett. Well, I gave it to you.
Yeah.
You don't know the backstory of Django. Fuck you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He just answered a question with a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of what got me like super interested was like learning about like the background, because the making of the, especially the original one, the original Star Wars, is like so interesting because it was such a clusterfuck.
Yeah. They created a whole like ILM was created
Yeah.
for Star Wars.
And it's
Right?
just yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it
Well,
was
what would become
Yeah.
ILM
Right.
starts in Star Wars.
Right.
but yeah, like just the because it was because he was a unknown director. He had done he had only done THX.
He had done hit on the strength of his student film. No, he'd also done American Graffiti.
American Graffiti.
American
yeah, that-
But
Graffiti.
on the
this is
strength,
his-
but on the strength of his student film version of THX,
1138.
1138, I could never get the numbers.
Yeah.
Always throw me off. He was able to make that, and then made American Graffiti, and then just I got this idea. I want to do not Buck Rogers. I want to do Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
I want to do
Yeah.
a Flash Gordon.
Or
serial.
cereals.
And he couldn't get money for Flash Gordon. He couldn't get money for the rights for Flash
Yeah.
Gordon.
So he made his
"Well,
own
I'll
Flash
do my own
Gordon."
thing."
Also, I think he may have read Dune. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Oh yeah, he read Dune. He watched The Hidden Fortress.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he watched a lot of Kurosawa.
If you've watched The Hidden Fortress,
Yeah.
like C-3PO and R2-D2 are lifted straight from that movie.
Yeah. C-3PO was lifted straight from Metropolis.
Yeah, the
Like
look,
if you look at the Metropolis robot and C-3PO, there's so much going on there.
I
yeah,
love
it's,
that.
it's always. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The making of, like I said, is so interesting because one is a clusterfuck because nobody thought that this movie was
going to
to
make anything
like. Alec Guinness was like, "This is
a shit show.
a complete shit show."
This is a garbage fire.
Yeah, and he hated being Obi-Wan Kenobi. He made a child cry when they asked him for his autograph because he was Obi-Wan Kenobi. They didn't, for some reason, this little child didn't remember him in Lawrence of Arabia, but it was a clusterfuck because nobody knew kind of what they were fucking doing, and it was also very interesting because it was always like George would have an idea, and then there'd be somebody there telling him, okay, there's a piece of this that's good, but most of this is shit. So how about we change a little bit of this? So like, and it was just like really like these people like polishing this thing until it becomes like this actual like phenomenon. Like it came out like none of us were really like either we weren't alive or we couldn't remember like what happens when Star Wars came out, but Star Wars was like this phenomenon.
It's so funny too.
When it came out.
There was an interview, it's an old one, with Mark Hamill, and he was in a movie theater. They had put the original trailer again is also a shit show for the movie. Like it is garbage. And so I can't remember what movie he was going to go see, but it was like the Star Wars had not come out yet, but it was about to come out, and there was a trailer for Star Wars for whatever movie he was seeing. And at the end of the trailer, there was some tagline or something like it was like at the beginning of them doing taglines or whatever. And it's like, it'll be in a theater near you. And then someone in the audience went, and it'll be on TV 6 months later because the trailer is a catastrophe for the original trailer.
It is amazing because like nobody believed that like everybody was like, this is going to be absolute garbage. This is going to be like this is going to end George Lucas's career.
I think Lucas's wife was head of the editing room.
Yes.
And we don't his first wife. Let me also stress that as well. To this day, I think people in the know where the credit is there, but that it generally known that movie was saved in editing.
Yes.
But it was particularly saved by Mrs. Lucas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because everything I've ever seen as a deleted scene from Star Wars seems so fucking unnecessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the shit they put in when they re-released the extra stuff, like
Yeah.
later on with like Han talking to Jabba and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
that particular scene is like the big one that was like a deleted scene that was actually put back in.
Yeah. And that has more cachet after episodes 5 and 6, particularly
Right.
6, because, okay, now you understand. Like, it's a little bit deeper on Jabba.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, like, some of the stuff, like Biggs sort of just comes out of nowhere at the very end of Star Wars, out of A New Hope. There's a little bit more fleshing him out, but the dialogue is so fucking boring
Right.
for a movie that it, like, once it got boiled down to its essence, like, yeah, it was just perfectly paced. That movie is so perfectly paced too. That is a masterclass. People should study that film and for editing and pacing till the end of fucking time. It's so well done.
An interesting editing thing is she like the space battles, she edited like real life naval air battles. Like she watched footage.
Yeah, World War II dogfighting.
She watched like World War II
World War
dogfighting.
I actually too, I think, as well.
She watched like footage of these old battles and to see how they were, and she edited them to be like those that she was watching. Like I think there's literally you can see footage of her like watching a thing while she's doing like the editing,
Right.
to kind of to get like the feel of it. So that's why like a lot of the especially the Battle of Yavin at the end is very like very well done.
And for me too, like wanting to be like more into that universe before the prequels, not completely, were disappointment. There was always like, oh, there's a Star Wars video game coming out. It's like, oh man, Empire Strikes Back on the Atari 2600. I mean, it's not for Atari.
It started the establishment of the. If it's going to be a Star Wars game, it has to have a Hoth and land speeder, snow speeder battle scene in it at some point in time. The one from not Rebel Assault, God damn it, Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah.
On the N64, still to this day is like one of my favorite video game.
Yeah, I
levels of all
remember
time.
playing. I think it was like, was it Dark Forces? Or
Dark Forces is the first-person shooter with Kyle Katarn.
that
And
was
in
on the
the-
PS1.
I played the second one of that.
Yeah, which that you find out he's a Jedi. And
Yeah, they just was
yeah.
like, oh, he's a Jedi, because that back in the day, everybody like, oh, everybody's a Jedi, because Jedi was like the thing that everybody wanted to be. Like that was the people who are into 40K, like the Space Marine is like the ultimate thing. This one was the Jedi is the ultimate thing.
That series that video game series sort of Rambo'd because it was Star Wars Dark Forces, and then it was Star Wars Dark Forces Jedi 2 Jedi Knight, and then the next one was Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is properly Rambo. This thing doesn't remember what its fucking title is.
Another big thing that really got me into, and this is my weird ass. I remember getting these two books, and they were basically like there were two Star Wars encyclopedias. One was vehicles, and one was characters. And I would just like read the ever loving shit from cover to cover of these, like all of these weird, and it was like from the comics that I had never read, and it was from this book that I had never read,
right?
Because like the expanded universe was like so much, it got all pared down when Disney took over, but like the everything was fucking canon pretty much, and there was like tons and tons of books and comics and all of this stuff. So like I knew about I got to find out about all of these really weird things that I had never, like, that's why I know about a lot of this shit that I've never read the book, never read the comic or anything like that.
So right after I saw episode 3, I kind of like lost interest in Star Wars. Like, it wasn't that it didn't catch my eye anymore. It's just like I'm not as exposed to it as I normally am, and so that interest kind of like died down. And
It probably did the same thing for me, pretty much.
and then years later, I'm watching TV and I see a trailer come on, and all these people are running, and there's this one hooded figure that's like walking in the opposite direction, all dramatic, and they stop at a ledge, and the camera kind of like pans out into the sky, and the person like reaches their hand out into the sky, and all you see them do is like with the force just pull a Star Destroyer down from orbit.
Oh yeah,
And
Force
then-
Unleashed.
And
Okay.
the Force Unleashed. Like I saw that trailer, I'm like, holy shit, I
Yeah.
need to get back into this.
Both of those games
It rekindled that
Yeah.
that amazing
were
flame.
great.
I never played those games because I borrowed the first one from somebody that I worked with, and I put it in my Xbox 360 and immediately got the Red Ring of Death.
Oh,
So I never got to.
So
So,
Star
by the
Wars,
time
The
I
Force
sent it out
Unleashed.
and got it back, because this is when Microsoft was actually letting you do that, I was just like, I don't feel like playing this shit.
Man, it's gonna do it again.
Star Wars
Yeah.
Force Unleashed killed your Xbox.
Yeah, it did basically did.
There you go.
Um,
I despise the Force Unleashed because there's a tipping point with things like these. If you can pull a Star Destroyer, if one person can pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky, we've gone a little bit too far. Because how did an entire like school of Jedis lose to two dudes? It's always two.
It's always two.
It's always
always
two.
two.
How did two dudes just what? These motherfuckers can pull shit from the fucking space? No, like what? Like they're power creep in any media, but particularly in that because wait, this was Darth Vader's secret apprentice.
yeah.
And he can just do this shit. Why wasn't he at the
Why
bad
isn't
guy?
he the main villain?
Yeah.
why did Palpatine invent 10,000 super Star Destroyers out of thin
That was
air?
that was the 9th numbered movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, I get that. I think the weird thing about the Force Unleashed games for me was that dude basically started the rebellion. That was really weird.
I just like the gameplay too, though.
Yeah,
The
I mean it was
the
it
game-
was kind of a turn your
There's
brain
a-
off power fantasy.
It
type
was
thing.
a power fantasy.
There's a
because
cool
we've all wanted to like be
Be a
crazy ass,
Jedi.
Yeah.
unleashed Jedi,
Yeah.
literally unleashed Jedi, and
Well,
this was like here you get to do
you
this
want
shit.
to be the Jedi that's like change her off, and you're like, "Rah."
Because like before that, not really any game let you do
Let
that
you
too
play
much.
the bad
Like,
guy.
Yeah, before that game, there was Star Wars Masters of the Terra Kasai,
Yeah.
a fighter on the PS1.
but you had like so like in the Dark Forces games when you could be a Jedi, like it was first person, it was kind of like shitty and blocky, and your powers like were kind of cool but not like super
Right.
awesome.
Well, I will say this in Jedi Knight 2, like once you pulled your lightsaber out, it became a third person mode, and the powers in that third person mode really actually like I think flowed a lot better. I'm not saying that
it was cool, but it like wasn't like I remember like thinking it was cool because again I played that game too. That was the one that I played a lot, but it wasn't as you didn't really feel like super powerful. It was just like oh I get to. It was just cool because I got to do this force power. Which if you did the light side, you got all the boring powers, and if you did the dark side, you got all the cool fun powers. But like that was the first one. Like even the things where you got to be Jedi, like Jedi Power Battles, the video game, it was kind of just it was kind of just like Streets of Rage, but with lightsabers. Like it like you couldn't. It was a problem because, and this is the problem. We're talking a lot about video games, but this is the kind of the problem with like Star Wars video games when you have a lightsaber is that the lightsaber is supposed to be able to cut through anything. So that means that it's gonna that every enemy is one shot, like supposed to be, if you can actually hit them. And that's the problem with all of those games.
Right.
But that was the first one where you like really got to go crazy with it, I think, and that's why like a lot of people like that game.
I think for me too, like trying to like edge away from the games. I think there's like different things and different mediums that kind of kept my fandom going for the shows and the movies and the video games, and those things kind of would perpetuate like
Yeah.
my interest. Like for example, like the Super Nintendo games came out, and then like soon after, like the Timothy Zahn trilogy came out, and
Yeah.
I read that, Heir of the Empire, and the other two that I can't remember right now.
Dark Force Rising and The Last Command.
Right. And not too long after that, the prequels started.
Yeah.
Like the first one came out in 99.
Yeah.
I saw that in the theater, and there was a lot of, like, cool stuff happening. Midi-chlorians, like what?
Yeah.
Cool stuff happening. Gungans, okay, sure. Oh, those robots are kind of funny. And then, the interest kind of wanes a little bit, and like, it's like, okay, the first one, they're just getting their feet wet. You know, maybe the second movie is going to bring it home. Whoa, buddy.
Nope. Yeah, and it just kind of hit me like before the Disney era of Star Wars, they really wasn't like in the way of TV shows. Like Star wasn't there like that didn't exist.
You
Star
had
Wars
the Clone
TV show, or-
Wars.
The Clone Wars.
all of that was the Disney era.
Not the 2008.
That was Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah,
Cartoon
that,
Network.
that was
2008 Cartoon Network.
that wasn't okay. Yeah,
And then-
that one. But that was a special thing. That was actually a micro series. It wasn't like a TV. It was literally.
I know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
no, don't, no, me.
no,
Don't me. We're talking about the Gendy Tartakovsky.
I'm not talking about that.
about
no.
the Clone Wars
The-
series
it's like-
the Clone
that
Wars.
came out
Star-
after the Clone Wars
Okay.
movie.
Yeah. No,
I erase all that from my brain. So
2008 Cartoon Network released Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
that was like
TV
the
show.
first thing then.
No.
Yeah.
Because
It
before
was.
that,
And-
there really wasn't.
There wasn't.
Besides,
No, there
like
wasn't.
the Ewok cartoon and the Droids cartoon. But I don't even think those were
and
like
the
a
holiday
series.
special.
And well, that wasn't a
What it was.
that wasn't a TV series. That
Yeah,
was a
the
special.
Droids cartoon was spawned from the holiday special.
Yeah.
And that was the first sighting of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
That's what-
What it was it's kind of
Also,
like
the first sighting of was it ELO or Jefferson Starship?
I think it was ELO.
It was ELO.
no, that was Jefferson
It
Starship.
was Jefferson
Was it Jefferson-
it
Starship.
was
Yeah.
Jefferson
Yes.
Starship.
Yeah,
Okay.
just stormtroopers watching Jefferson Starship.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But the original 2008 Star Wars: The Clone Wars TV show is kind of like an
I'm sorry. Can you imagine being on the Death Star and the Death Star attacks happening,
Uh-huh.
and the last thing you see is starships? We built this city. Oh my! That would be the worst way to die. The fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They brought that show back on Disney Plus though.
yeah
Yeah.
because
To finish the arc.
Yeah.
which eventually led into Star Wars Rebels, which
Yeah.
is
And the Bad Batch.
and the Bad
And the
Batch.
Bad Batch.
I
Right.
have not seen the Bad
I
Batch
haven't
yet.
watched that either. I have no interest really.
Yeah. I realize that like Rebels and that are good, and there's some parts of it that I rewatch. Like when Ahsoka Tano fights Vader in Rebels, that's a really cool part. But I just don't watch them because who has the fucking time? Although I am like interested in the
Acolyte.
Acolyte.
Yeah.
That's interesting because it takes place in a time period of Star Wars where like I think Yoda would be the only person that we might know in this because it takes place like 200-300 years.
away from all the
Yeah.
Star
And
the
that's
Skywalker.
Yes.
Joke's on you.
Era.
All the children in this show are named Skywalker.
Yeah.
I have said this many times, and I know that I'm not the only one that feels this way. I don't want any more Skywalker legacy stuff
Yeah.
in Star Wars for new Star Wars stuff. Please, can we please get away from Luke Skywalker
Yeah.
and his whole legacy? I understand it was important at one time. It was important at one time. It's there. It's part of the history. If we're going to keep doing stuff, we need to like either go like flash forward or flash backwards.
Well, yeah, there is like literally an entire universe out there of stuff that you can tell, and hopefully I'm hoping that this show is good,
Right.
And I'm hoping that it does well. It's kind of like X-Men 97. I'm hoping that that's good and that's doing well. So I'm hoping that they will take more interesting things.
Still going strong. I love everything. Still.
But like, yeah, I'm hoping that show is good so that they will be like, because they've already done some stuff because the Star Wars Visions, that's actually been some interesting stuff that their animated anthology series, and that like
I liked some
none
of those.
of that goes with anything having to do with like the main Star Wars series.
I think that's why I accept the stuff from Visions more so than I accept Force Unleashed, because you have the Studio Trigger one where they're literally fighting in space.
Right.
And they established that in episode 8, whatever. But like that had no connection to the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy. It's just two people out fighting in space with laser swords with great animated choreography, which has a kind of a tacit line, but something you can hook yourself to as far as why these two people are fighting.
The thing about galaxies is that they typically have thousands of solar systems, not just 5.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars literally has like 20 planets they go to, and if it's not the same planet with the same name, it's a similar planet very close to it.
Just go to a different solar system, like
Go to a different galaxy if you have to, but there's a lot in one galaxy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of areas in one galaxy they could go to.
Yeah, and it is interesting to bring up because like you like you said, and I agree with this. Like, please, for the love of God, get away from the Skywalker stuff. But like most of the expanded universe before like Disney took it out back and shot it was about the Skywalkers, like at least all of the like very well known stuff. But I think that comes with that it was in these little different places.
Pockets, yeah.
So like, okay, you had this video game series over here, and you had this book series over here, and you had this comic over here.
Right.
So it wasn't like, right there staring you in the face necessarily. And you could be like, well, I don't want to deal with this stuff. I'm going to read this book series, and I'm going to ignore this video game over here. So it was easier to like, it didn't feel like it was like all coming at you. And that's not to say that like the expanded universe, everything in it was great, but like there was some good stuff and there was some shit.
One of my favorite things finding out about was like this comic book series is like a mini series, and I think it was like exclusively like over in Europe, like in England, and it was about these two rebels that were like basically like spies. And so they go through like different scenes from the original trilogy. And so like every time you see stormtroopers misfiring when they're shooting at our heroes, it's those two guys.
Oh, okay.
They're missing on purpose, or they're causing other people to miss.
Oh, okay.
Anytime
they did like a Lion King 1.5 thing.
Anytime there's a plot hole, it's those two buffoons like causing either something to go wrong for the heroes.
That's why in that first movie, Obi-Wan's like, oh, you'd never get such precise stuff. It has to be stormtroopers. They're the only people who shoot so precisely, and they just never hit anybody ever later, unless they hit them in like the arm. I think the only shot that ever happens to stormtroopers that hits a main character that actually like hurts them is when Leia gets hit in the arm in Return of the Jedi.
I think the only injury I can actively remember in the original trilogy was Luke's hand just being cut off.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I recall.
I like how they retconned that later to where like Darth Vader has a specific form of lightsabers that specializes in cutting people's hands off. Like that is what you train for with that form of
So when Obi-Wan just goes fucking ham in the cantina and chops that dude's arm off.
Yeah, he was doing it too. Where do you think he got it from?
The name of the series was called it's Dark Horse. It's called Tag and Binker Dead.
Oh, okay.
Which is a takeoff of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Okay.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern from Hamlet.
Yeah.
They're basically I won't say it was just a book. It's just the notion of these two side characters.
Yeah, it was a book, and I think that it later became a play.
Yeah.
The first issue is on eBay for $350.
Yeah, Dark Horse used to be like so.
I need to tell my buddy Mark McMullen about that because he has all of it.
Things come from if you get a comic, Star Wars comic today, it's Marvel because it's all under the Disney brand. But back in the day, it was Dark Horse was the big one that did all the comics from them. I think, and of course, like Marvel did like some like a retelling of like the original series and stuff like that.
When they did the comic book adaptations for, at the very least, A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. By Jedi, they may have moved away from it, but I'm not sure on that.
Maybe I want to say maybe that is right, but I'm not 100% sure. It's been a very long time since I've like researched.
Didn't Dark Horse do some stuff with the Grendel character?
Possibly. They did a lot of like they did a lot of shit.
Grendel versus Batman
like
or whatever.
Beowulf?
No. Are you not familiar with Grendel?
Yeah, Grendel, the black and white mask, and he had the it was always the person would die and then they would become he was like a gentleman thief or some shit. Assassin, yeah. I just have like one issue.
The only Grendel in my brain is
It took me a little while. I had to remember.
I have never seen that before.
Oh wow, we know something that
wild.
Jay doesn't know.
I've
Holy
never seen
shit,
That is
Write
wild.
That down.
Yeah, Grendel had crossover, like because it was Dark Horse. Grendel had crossover.
Dark Horse and DC did a lot. Like if there was ever a Alien or Predator versus a like Dark Horse was all over that.
There's a Grendel omnibus.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah.
Well, he can get off this bus right now.
Published in 1982. Well, I don't want to like get on Grendel, but anyway.
It is still going.
This is
Yeah.
the most anybody's talked about Grendel in a very long time. But yeah,
I bet you there's like a Grendel centric podcast.
there might be. But
Today we're talking about
It's called Grendel,
issue 97.
and not the one from Beowulf.
Yeah. Today we're talking about issue 97.
I will say, like, a lot of the comics that Marvel has done has been pretty good. I would say check out the Vader series. All of that is like really good. That's where you get the issue where Vader's TIE fighter has gone down and
he's surrounded.
He
by
gets surrounded by all these rebels, and they're like, "Oh, we have you. You're surrounded." He goes and he ignites his lightsaber and goes, I'm surrounded by fear and dead men."
Yep.
And then he kills all of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. There's also in the special annual edition, he goes to this planet because they're like kind of thinking about leaving the Empire, and he gets there and he just has his briefcase this whole entire time, and he meets up with the king's of the planet's daughter, and they try to assassinate him. And he has these two droids that are basically evil C-3PO and evil R2-D2. And they infiltrate the place while he's going through like all this bullshit. Like, they try and like drop a pool of lava on him and all of this shit. And
Lava doesn't affect Darth Vader.
And the whole time he's just dragging this girl along with his briefcase, and he finally gets there. And by the time he gets there, the two droids have like murdered the entire like everybody in the throne room. And he goes, "Okay, you're gonna be the king now." He points to the girl, and then he opens up the case and throws a rock at her. And he's like, "Guess what that is? That's Alderaan. That's all that's left of it. Keep that as a reminder of what happens when you cross the Empire." And then he just walks out.
It's pretty badass.
So there is they came out with a Lego Star Wars like mini series.
I swear to God, if you would have said video games.
No, I wasn't gonna mention the video games.
Okay.
It is a good video game series, though.
Yeah.
There were, I didn't see this, but there was a clip I see, and it's one lady that's being like confronted by like several like Jedis in trainings, like surrender now, come in peace. And what this person does, she like reaches behind her and pulls out a briefcase, throws it, and it kind of like opens up. And you see all these Lego blocks kind of like flying and swirling about. And all of a sudden, there's like 5 droids that like pop out of nowhere, pointing their guns at everyone. I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing.
That is
awesome.
a pretty cool thing to do with Legos.
Do you? I've got a hot take maybe not so hot. Do you think that Disney, not on purpose, has been slowly eroding our expectations of what Star Wars should be, or are our expectations too high?
I mean, there's always the possibility of that. I will say, like, they have Disney, and they've done arguably the same thing with Marvel, where they have oversaturated things.
Yeah.
Remember when they announced that they were going to do a sequel trilogy, they said either right before or right after The Force Awakens came out, they said, we're going to do a Star Wars movie every year.
I remember that.
We're going to do a mainline Star Wars, and then we're going to do a side story Star Wars.
And then flip them, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to keep doing that every year. And that is too much Star Wars. The whole thing about Star Wars is that they come out every once in a while,
right?
And you get to see them every once in a while, and they're doing the same thing. I would argue, even though like some of the TV shows are good,
they're getting better. Some of them are anyway.
They started out really strong with The Mandalorian, and
right.
then they kind of lost the plot with that one.
Right.
I would argue Rebels, like the Star Wars, because that was the first TV series that was done by Disney. I think that was also a very strong one as well.
Yeah,
but
that was the same guy who did Clone Wars, Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni, yeah.
In which he actually went back to finish the
and then he went
mainline Clone Wars.
Yeah, and then he went back to finish that to catch it up to Rebels, because Rebels is in between.
Episodes 4, 5, and 6 were 3 years apart. 77, 80, 83.
Yeah.
99, 2002, 2005 was the prequel series. Yeah, you get to have enough of a chance to miss it, even if you didn't like it.
Right.
People who saw Attack of the Clones and were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They were there on opening night for Revenge of the Sith. They were. I think maybe in part, Mike Stacklasa over at Red Letter Media says, like, we all kind of came together. It's like, well, we've come this far. We might as well finish it. It's a sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Did
the Han Solo movie come out between 7 and 8? 8 and 9. It was 8 and 9.
Rogue One was 7 and 8.
Rogue One was 7 and 8.
And the Han Solo movie was kind of what when it didn't make all the money in the world, that was when they kind of scaled it back and was like, okay, we're not going to, we're not going to do this every year necessarily. But yeah, having a mainline Star Wars like literally every other year, and then in between you have, and again, it's the same problem. I think there's a chance, and this is a little off topic, but I think there's a chance that like things might get better with the Marvel movies, because there's like one movie coming out this year, Deadpool and Wolverine. That's it. There's not 3 and 4 Marvel movies coming out this year.
Well, they have to reassess what they're doing, because like with Madam Web and even though those
Madam Web was Sony.
That was Sony. Yeah,
that's a whole other. That's a whole other like.
It's very very complicated.
Right.
But see, then they're also doing things like when it comes to Star Wars, like instead of making the next season of The Mandalorian, that's going to be a movie.
Right.
The Mandalorian and Grogu, which just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I think they just hit us with too much too fast, and even with like all of these shows, they just keep coming out, and it's like I can't keep up with this shit.
Right.
I have other things that I want to do besides just watch Star Wars or Marvel, and I keep bringing it back because right now they're kind of two sides of the same coin, and a lot of it, I think a lot of people's expectations are too high. I don't think mine are. I just got tired of it.
You have to be able to miss it for a
Mm-hmm.
while. Like I'm going to bring Star Trek into this because I think so. You had the original series in the 60s, and then it gets pulled for whatever reasons, but you had this fan base that wanted to see it, and then you had the animated series for a little bit, and then it's still not there. And then by the time that Star Trek kind of reignites like American love for science fiction, that's when Star Trek, instead of Phase 2, which would have been another TV series, now it's going to the motion pictures. And then you really had, like, to me, the watershed moment, what Star Trek 2: The Wrath of Khan. That movie is not as credited as it should be on that.
Right.
But again, 87, you have Star Trek: The Next Generation premieres.
Yes.
And then from 87, 94,
7 seasons.
2001, 2005. I think like 2005 or 2006. You had a Star Wars television show either in syndication or on network for 18 years. You can't miss it.
Right.
Like you don't get a chance to remember fondly because it's still there and it's still coming out and you're still getting produced.
Because like while Next Generation came out during that in the middle, right? Deep Space
Nine starts on season 5, seasons I think 5 or 6.
Voyager starts at the very end, right?
As soon as the final sign off for Next Generation, you get 7 years of Voyager.
Right.
That goes from I think 94 to 2001.
Right.
And then when it's done in 2001, you immediately pick up with Enterprise,
Right.
which goes another 4 seasons. So you have all of this Star Trek content, which.
Right.
And in that era, that is actually as big of a fire hose as you can imagine because you don't have the internet near to the level that we have.
Streaming doesn't exist.
Streaming doesn't exist, and it's just always there. It's always on, and eventually, your most beloved fans, your most devoted fans, they're going to get fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
One of the best things that happened to Star Trek was going off the air, and I don't mean that in a bad way for what they were producing,
Right.
because I think in a vacuum, I think they were doing good stories inside that area, but 18 years
Right.
non-stop content.
And I think that's a problem that we're facing now with Disney, and not necessarily to
Yeah.
take theaters out of it. Like they need to have content on their streaming platform, and
that is the problem.
And
with,
they spend a lot of money on Marvel and a lot of money on Star Wars,
and that is the problem with like streaming today. Is that not only like it at least with Star Trek, all these times you had to wait to see it when it came out, when it came on the TV, and now it's like
you did have to wait a week to see it on television.
It's all
Yeah.
here. It's all here. It's
Yeah.
all here, and it's just it is like a full blast fire hose, compared
Right.
to even what that was. Maybe hopefully things get better. What they should do, I think, is give, and I think that they may be starting to do that because I think they are starting to do that with the Acolyte, is giving this to lesser known people, and letting them kind of have their way with it, and sometimes that shit's gonna be bad, but sometimes it's gonna be really good and surprising. Again, it's kind of what they did with X-Men '97. They gave it to these people and just said, "Here, just kind of do whatever. We don't give a shit about this property or this particular piece of this property."
Right. Just like the animated Star Wars thing.
The animated Star Wars thing. Oh yeah, here Anime Studio, do something.
6 different directors, 6 different studios, do whatever.
I think that's why the Marvel What Ifs hit as hard as they did.
Yeah.
Because it was something that you still had some of the principles from the main Marvel stuff.
Right.
But you're telling different stories about it in a way that is more engaging.
Yeah.
Like it's something that you're not. It's something that you're not getting over and over again with like. I just realized how tired I am. Not tonight.
Right.
I think that's maybe one of the things about Star Wars and why it endured is because we were allowed to miss it.
Yeah.
We were allowed to think on it ourselves and create our own stories in our head,
Right.
or just be appreciative of this thing. We had this thing. And it's not gone. There was VHS, there was DVDs. You could have just gone. You could have gone out, bought it, rented, however you want to do it. You could own that copy. You can own that piece of stuff. But at the very least, you don't open up a screen, and here's 3 new series of this that is tailing off of stuff that we've already done. I'm not solely of the opinion that going away from Skywalker is necessarily a good thing. My thing is, are the stories good?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of it is so much this is processed and shipped out and consume it.
Yeah.
Consume this.
That gets back to a lot of media nowadays is just seen as a consumable, not necessarily as art, so, but And I get what you're saying, but I also think that one of the reasons why we keep being bogged down with these not good stories is because we are chained to this one thing, the Skywalkers.
That's one of the reasons.
And going away from that
Right.
gives an opportunity to tell new stories and to come up with new things and to do different things. Like I would love for them to go 300 years into the future where the Skywalkers and Han Solo and all of these people are
And the
just,
Empire, even maybe.
all of this is it's myth, and that
Right.
would be so interesting. I think
The sad thing there is there was an attempt at that with The Last Jedi, and that the execution on The Last Jedi.
well, that was an
feel-
attempt to move away. We disagree on the. I don't think the execution is as bad as some people say it is.
I would agree with you. But I do believe it was there's logical, and I'm not talking about the Holdo maneuver.
Yeah.
That's one of my. Scratch that. If I want to talk about something that reignited kind of like what we can do with Star Wars, that scene is perfect for me.
Oh yeah, that
I
was,
love the
I loved that scene.
All the sound goes out, and all you see is this repeat of just like light, complete darkness, and light ripping the darkness apart, and then you get the cacophony of all of this destruction that just happened. I thought that's one of the best things Star Wars has ever done.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Where I think it fails there, though, I think there are choices that they made, like the whole running gunfight, while the rest of the cast is having this weird gallivant on a casino planet.
Yeah.
For
There's-
20 minutes.
There's timing issues that's
Right.
like, how would they have had the time to do this while all this other stuff's going
Yeah,
on?
well,
I
it's-
do question why Holdo never lets Poe know what's going on, other than it causes the plot to move to where it had to.
Well, that I understand because like she didn't have the relationship that Poe and Leia did. So all she sees is this is
an
an
insubordinate officer.
insubordinate officer who got a whole lot of people killed. So I probably wouldn't. I think a lot of the people's problems with that, I can very easily explain away, like all the people who bitch about the Holdo maneuver. But and I do believe like the Canto Bight stuff, the side story thing, there was a reasoning for it. It was just very awkwardly done, and that's the problem.
It went
is-
on too long, kind of.
it went on a little too long, and it was very awkwardly done, even though I think something like that needed to happen because it was character development with Finn. But again, it was super awkwardly done, so you notice it and it feels like, why are they doing, like, you notice, I noticed it while I was watching. I was like, well, why are they fucking doing this? But I think something like that was necessary. But again, I'm not a person who writes movies, so I don't know what the fuck they could have done or how they could have done it better.
I will say this. I'm going to mention two things, and I've said it. I've probably even said it on the show before, but there are two things outside of the whole entire clusterfuck that was 9 that really pissed me off, like straight up pissed me off as a movie, not as a Star Wars movie, as a movie. You make a basically bait and switch on a lovable character, quote unquote, dying, and like undo it like minutes after it happens.
Oh yeah,
And then almost do the same exact thing with another character as far as their memory going away permanently, and then undoing it literally minutes later, taking out any emotional investment that you have in what's going on.
Well, what it builds in your brain is there's no risk here.
yeah.
There's not a single dot of risk here. Like anybody who's dying is going to die heroically, like as a
Yeah.
heroic sacrifice. Oh my God, like
That's why I liked Rogue One so much, is because it was final. Everything that was happening to those characters was
Rogue
final.
One was one of the of the Disney stuff. It's probably the best out there. Even though again, like I really do like The Last Jedi, but we were talking about this earlier. Like those 3 movies, I have no urge to watch again. I have really no urge to watch the prequels.
I still have not seen Rogue One.
Rogue One is
Rogue
good.
One's good.
Rogue One is
One's
worth
quality.
watching.
That's one of the few times where they took the director out and put someone else in. Didn't hurt it as much as it could have. I think there's just little things here and there. I like Rogue One. There's little things here and there that just kind of scratch at the back of my head.
Yeah.
And that, but again, that's a personal
There
thing.
is
There.
like a lot of the movie pieces of it are like big fan service. Like the Darth Vader scene at the end. That's pure fan service,
Right.
but it works.
It does work.
Because of all the work that they've done earlier in the movie, and that's not even like the only like really cool thing. Like that's probably the coolest land battle in any Star Wars.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Maybe second to Hoth, like, but it's probably more because they're taking some stuff from Hoth.
I'll take a hot take. I still love the Battle of Endor.
Oh, the Battle of Endor is great.
Oh yeah,
I'm not saying
that's not saying that
the
that's
land
bad.
battle and the Battle
right.
of
The
Endor.
land battle.
Star Wars. It started with Empire and it started snowballing, and I think this is what really hurt the Phantom Menace. And again, this is another thing I think Mike Stacklasa brought up with his Mr. Plinkett review. You start splitting the focus too far at the very end. At Star Wars, A New Hope has one focus, and that's the battle at the battle for Yavin.
Yeah.
And
Space battle, yeah.
And there's parts of it here, but it's mostly people just reacting to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Empire, you have the escape from Hoth, the escape from Cloud City, and the fight between Luke and Vader.
Yeah.
Right.
Jedi, you've got the ground battle in Endor, you have the battle on the Death Star with Luke and Vader and the Emperor, and then you have the space battle at the. When you get to Phantom Menace, you've got the palace battle, you've got the power station battle, you've got the Gungans battling the Trade Federation, and you've got the space battle going on there. At some point, your focus is split too fucking far.
Right.
To his credit, he curtailed it in on Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith by making it basically two focuses.
Yeah.
And I think that helped pacing there in those. Though at the same time, then in Attack of the Clones, in Revenge of the Sith, that Anakin Obi-Wan battle goes on too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
It has a lot building up to it, because
does.
you don't just have the two movies beforehand,
Right.
but you have the legend of that fight that is vaguely hinted to in 4 and carries throughout 5 and 6.
Right.
So you need, like, I get the idea that this thing might go on along, but good God, it starts on a landing pad, goes into a boardroom, ends up in an industrial factory, goes into a lake of lava, and then finally just ends on a really shitty beach.
Right.
I think, and while I'm not crazy with his fight in Attack of the Clones, I think the fight between the Emperor and Yoda in Revenge of the Sith is the better fight of those two.
Yeah, because there's not as much of it.
There was not much. It gets a lot done with a lot less, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. But I think that is like the Yoda fight in Attack of the Clones sucks, because it's just like you can't even tell what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. CGI blur.
And
I
people
feel
could
so
argue.
bad for Christopher Lee in that, because we need you to like react to this thing that's just like flailing around you.
Here's
and,
a
like,
tennis ball on a stick.
Imagine a
Well,
very
hopefully
large
it was just
fly
his
jumping around you.
stunt double who had to do all that bullshit. But their fight in Revenge of the Sith like showcases like their abilities a whole lot better, and it showcases. It doesn't just give Yoda fight, like they're fighting in like an interesting area, and there's also like symbolism with them fighting in the Senate and like literally throwing like seats in the Senate at each other. But yeah, it uses his ability because it's not like just a flat surface that he's having to jump off of and flip around and do all this bullshit. And that's why Yoda is also the most bullshit character in all of Soul Calibur. But yeah,
Just small enough.
If you
to
thought
avoid
Odd
the
Job
regular
in
hitbox.
GoldenEye was cheating by
he's
being too
absolute
small,
bullshit.
yeah, Yoda.
Also in the original Battlefront 2, Yoda was also OP whenever you could unlock him.
that makes sense.
Any final thoughts on Star Wars?
We've kind of, we went more negative towards the back half on this.
Yeah.
However, I don't think you can go as negative. Like you can't fake this. This is something that we love. Not loved, by the way. I'm not saying in the past tense. I
Yeah.
still love
Love,
Star Wars.
present,
Yeah,
and future.
Yeah, well, maybe. You never know.
Love, present.
I
Present
think
tense.
you can tell we're passionate about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that passion for me started in a coloring book.
Yeah, like my fixation on Star Wars, I'll say, has like definitely waned over the years. and a lot of what Disney done has kind of helped that, and very much helped that. It's not something that I am as obsessed as I used to be as I was younger. Other things have like taken that space in my brain. But it is still something that I do love. Like I said, there are things that I am looking forward to. I am very much looking forward to The Acolyte. I don't give a shit about this Rey movie that's coming out. But there's a lot of things that I'm not interested in like Marvel movies anymore. Like it's gonna have to be something special for me to like really get excited about that.
Hoping, and I hate to interrupt you. I hope it's some sort of, for lack of a better term, and it's hyperbole to say this, but I can't think of a better word right now. I hope it's some sort of redemption for Daisy Ridley, to give her to give her something to like kind of maybe like sink her teeth or show what she can do as an actress and tell a story that is compelling without having to be pulled in 5 different directions.
Yeah.
Like I feel for John Boyega, and for Oscar Isaacs, who I think that trio, is a better acting trio in my opinion than Hamill, Ford, and Fisher, and better than McGregor, Portman, and Christensen. I
will give you that only because Hayden Christensen pulls down that average. When you average those 3 together, I don't know if they're better than the other 2 just by themselves. But
fair point. I mean, you do have an Oscar winner in that grouping there. But there again, like the stuff I've seen from Obi-Wan with Hayden Christensen, when we had people that like could actually give him sand, it's coarse and rough.
It also helps that like he's an older actor and he's had time to
mature.
get better.
Well, also his director isn't George Lucas.
Yeah, George.
No, that his writer.
Right.
Isn't George Lucas.
Also director though.
Director, we could argue like I think he wasn't the greatest director, but he wasn't like the worst director.
Well, no,
but, like
that's not my point.
He's definitely worse at like when it comes to like writing dialogue and stuff like that. But yeah, that is true. Like the cast of the new series is like very, very strong. Even taking and that's taking out like the returning people.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that they just do something different. Like it's not just her running around telling everybody that she's Rey Skywalker. If she goes out and does like a new adventure somewhere else, like that would be cool. I would enjoy that. That's great.
Yeah.
Like, please, for the love of God, do that. If they do that, I might actually be interested in it. But as of like right now, I'm just not interested. But that's just also like you tell me that there's a new Captain America movie coming out. I don't really care. It's the same thing. Like I said, 2 sides of the same coin. But like there is things that like I still love Star Wars. I might like what I need to do is try and like read some of the books and stuff because that is a part of Star Wars.
Definitely need to start with that Zahn trilogy. It's really
I've been
good.
meaning to read that for forever ago. I think I have on audiobook the new.
Yeah, he did another
Thrawn
series.
series.
Yeah.
For the new for when Disney took over to kind of redo things. And I think I've got the first one of that on either audiobook or digital book. But I'm interested and I'm hopeful. Actually, that would be a lie. I'm not like super hopeful. Disney has kind of crushed my hope for any of these properties, but I still like Star Wars.
Right.
It's just frustrating that where they've kind of been lately and just kind of like this fire hose of gray slop.
But for me, it's like some of the new TV shows. Like I liked The Mandalorian. I like it so far. I use the term like. I liked Ahsoka. Book of Boba Fett. I didn't watch the Obi-Wan show. I haven't watched that yet, but I haven't had Disney Plus in about 3 or 4 months.
They lost me with The Mandalorian when they were like, you have to watch the Book of Boba Fett to understand the Mandalorian, the next season of the Mandalorian.
At least the last 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. But for me, like neither one of those or any of those like excited me, right? Like I liked them. Rogue One excited. I was excited the whole time I was watching that movie. And I was excited through most of Force Awakens. Like I liked everything that was happening for the most part, even though like we said before off mic when we were talking about before we started recording about how it's basically like the first two movies kind of pushed together in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it was exciting. It was a new Star Wars movie. It was something new. We were like, J.J. Abrams, right? Like we're getting all pumped, and then But I'm looking forward to maybe things changing. And them sort of like learning from their missteps. I mean, like, look, with so many hours and so many different series and TV shows, movies, and Star Wars and Marvel, Disney is going to and has made mistakes. And hopefully they will learn from those mistakes, because those mistakes are financial learning processes, and they're not going to keep making those, box office bombs over and over again. They will have to change and make something different and try something new, and hopefully that will happen soon.
And that is my hope for it, that they like give it to interesting people and let them do their own thing, and see where that goes, so that we get some like new interesting takes on things. It's not just the same. We're not just trying to fit everything in the same hole.
Because they can't, because they have a streaming service now. They can't keep spamming garbage, because people will leave.
Yeah.
And it has happened and will continue to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's Netflix had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah. Something else negative, like Disney Plus has been like is like god awful now that they have kind of like shoved all of Hulu's shit on it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to navigate and very annoying. But yeah, I hope that like they do get better. Like that's, I still like it enough to do that. So
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're pulling in, right? Pulling in at the stop.
Yeah, I believe so.
Jay, promote a show.
Whiskey and Wrestling. Michael Hill and Jason Holder providing you a week's worth of news and views in wrestling while pairing it with a wonderful and sultry libation. I'm saying sultry because it sounds like a cool word there.
Man.
Whiskey and Wrestling, available on major podcasting networks. Silence your cell phones.
Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal here, hopefully. Jared Hubbard and Kevin Shelton providing you with thoughts and news on movies and TV shows of the modern era, along with sometimes watch-alongs on YouTube as well. We got Bearded Drums, Stephen Nelson II, and Jarrett Taylor, our good friend. They tell you all about drums from Gears of Gigs, along with not presentations, but performances by Mr. Nelson, available on YouTube and all major podcasting networks. The Completed Podcast, Christopher Vega, Brandon Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith providing you with news and views in competitive magic, along with road stories, war stories, and all sorts of things fun and or educational. Please check out their interviews with top Magic pros, as Brandon Scott Tanner is a former Magic pro himself.
Fearology.
Fearology.
Oh, this is where we slow down.
Yes. I have to breathe.
He has to do it at least once.
I thought you were gonna pull an Excalibur and just like say it all in one breath and almost hyperventilate.
I thought he was going to press a button.
I already
and
did
it was going to play
hyperventilate.
the Fearology promo.
I like it. Let's not talk about the show.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jody Kite's personal. No, I'm not going to do that
Don't
anymore.
pass out because my CPR certification has lapsed and it never got renewed. So.
His is still up. So we're
yours
good.
is still good.
Yeah,
Okay,
there we
good.
go.
Then it's your job.
No. Yours is
Thank
still
you for
up.
listening to
It's your
Travelers
job
on
and
the
your job and
Omnibus.
Thank you, MacNarb Gaming,
I've
for
been
providing us this studio
Jody
space.
Kite.
I've been Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
I'm Bray Davis.
Thank you, goodbye, and enjoy more of our wonderful month that is going to be about Star Wars.
Jay had to do that
More
extra
Star
bit because he couldn't get to the button to start this thing. So.
Oh yeah. Had to
Yep.
rush.
Just
Had to
a-
rush through.
I'm legitimately like seeing spots.
I would
That's
hope.
Jesus
good.
Christ.
I would hope you breathe now.
Like I'm saying, that's all you, Ethan. It ain't me. Mine's
There you go.
lapsed. I'm not legal anymore.
Yours is totally up and everything is fine.
No, it's not.